Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are tackling what might be one of the most high-stakes binary events on the biotech calendar.
We certainly are.
We're talking about Corcept Therapeutics, ticker Corlanor. And this isn't just some small update. We're looking at an FDA decision that could completely rewrite the story for this, $8-9 billion company?
An $8.71 billion market cap, to be precise. And the whole thing hinges on a drug called Relacorilant.
Right, the NDA, the new drug application.
Exactly. We're laser focused on their PDUFA date, which is set for December 30, 2025.
Okay, let's just quickly break that down for everyone. PDUFA date, it sounds like jargon, but it's actually pretty simple.
It is. PDUFA is just the FDA's deadline for itself. It's the day they have to say yes or no on a new drug. For Corcept, this is everything. It's their ticket to moving beyond being a one-drug company.
A one-drug company that's been very successful with Korlym.
Very. But Relacorilant is the future. And if they get that yes, the stock could see a major, major jump.
And it seems like the market is already betting on that yes. The stock's trading around, $80?
$79.82.
But the median price target from analysts is all the way up at $135. That's a nearly 70% upside. That level of optimism, it means we have to really dig in.
We do. We have to unpack the clinical data and, more importantly, the regulatory risks that everyone might be overlooking.
Okay, so before we jump into the future with Relacorilant, let's talk about the present. Corcept's foundation is built on their current drug, Korlym.
Right. They're the leader in therapies that modulate cortisol activity. And financially, they are in a very solid position.
No debt.
Zero long-term debt.
Yeah.
And they have a really strong cash position. Their Q2 revenue was $194.4 million. So, very healthy business.
And yet I saw they actually had to lower their guidance for 2025. They're seeing record prescriptions, a 49% volume increase year over year, but they lowered guidance to $850 million. That feels like a disconnect.
It does, and it's a fascinating problem to have. It's basically an operational headache.
Awesome.
The demand for Korlym just grew so fast that their main pharmacy vendor couldn't keep up. They couldn't fill the scripts fast enough.
So they were a victim of their own success.
Pretty much. This fulfillment gap cost them an estimated $15 million in revenue in Q2 alone. It was delaying new patients from even starting the drug.
So what's the fix?
It's a straightforward one. They're bringing a second specialty pharmacy online in the fourth quarter. That extra capacity should solve the bottleneck pretty quickly.
Okay, so a temporary problem, but there's another much bigger shadow hanging over Korlym, and that's the legal battle with Teva over a generic version.
Yes, the Hatch-Waxman lawsuit. This has been going on for a while.
And a decision is coming soon, right?
Very soon. Oral arguments were back on July 7th, so we're expecting a decision in the next month or two. Corcept's argument is that their patents on dosing protect Korlym all the way out to 2037.
A win there would be huge for their current revenue stream.
It would. But here's the really interesting part, and it's a huge signal from management. They've explicitly said that winning or losing that Teva case doesn't really impact their long-term sales projections for Relacorilant.
So they're basically saying, Korlym is great, but our future is so much bigger.
Exactly. It's a massive show of confidence in this new drug.
All right, let's pivot then. Let's talk about that future. Relacorilant for Cushing syndrome, the December 30th catalyst. What does the data look like?
The optimism really comes from the phase 3 GRACE trial.
The GRACE trial, okay.
It hit its primary endpoint for controlling hypertension, which is a major symptom of Cushing's. The numbers were they were great. A p-value of 0.02. Very strong data.
But Cushing's is so much more than high blood pressure. It's a truly debilitating disease.
It is. And the trial showed improvements across the board. I'm talking significant weight loss, smaller waist circumference, better cognitive scores, just a better quality of life overall. The improvements were durable and really meaningful for patients.
That sounds impressive. But you said earlier that the real game changer here is the safety profile. Why is this so much better than what's out there now?
It all comes down to the mechanism. Relacorilant is what we call a selective glucocorticoid receptor antagonist.
Selective, and Korlym isn't.
Korlym is much less selective. It's also a potent progesterone receptor antagonist, which causes a lot of collateral damage, so to speak.
And what does that mean for the patient? What's the real-world difference?
Think of Relacorilant as a laser, hitting only the target it needs to hit. Older drugs like Korlym are more like a hammer. They hit the target, sure, but they also hit a bunch of other things.
Causing the side effects.
Exactly. Severe side effects. We're talking about things like drug-induced hypokalemia, which is dangerously low potassium, serious psychiatric issues, endometrial problems, and even potentially fatal heart rhythm issues.
So relacorilant just doesn't have those.
In the trials, there were 0 instances of those serious adverse events. No hypokalemia, no adrenal insufficiency, nothing. For a doctor, that's a dream. It removes the biggest headache of prescribing these kinds of drugs.
So, strong efficacy, vastly superior safety. Where's the risk? Why is this a binary event at all?
The risk comes from a different, smaller study, the Phase 3 Gradient trial.
Okay.
The GRACE trial covered most Cushing's patients, but Gradient focused on a specific subset, patients where the disease originates in the adrenal glands. And that trial, well, it failed its primary endpoint.
It failed.
It failed to show a significant reduction in systolic blood pressure for that specific group.
Why does one failed trial in a subgroup matter so much if the main trial was a home run?
Because the FDA looks at the total package. And the NDA that Corcept submitted covers all Cushing's patients, including the ones from the Gradient trial.
Ah, I see. So that failure creates an opening for the FDA to push back.
It introduces a crack in the facade. It raises the risk of getting a CRL, a complete response letter.
Which is basically the FDA saying, no, go back and do more work.
And that could mean another long, expensive trial. That's the risk that could send the stock tumbling on December 30th.
But Corcept's projection for this is $3 to $5 billion in annual revenue. They must believe GRACE's data is strong enough to overcome the gradient issue.
That's the bet. They believe the clinical need and the massive safety advantage will carry the day. They think doctors will switch patients from Korlym to relacorilant so fast that it will completely replace the old drug.
That makes sense. The safety profile alone seems like a powerful driver for adoption.
It's huge.
So Cushing's is the gateway. But relacorilant isn't just for Cushing's. It has massive potential in oncology, too.
This might be the even bigger story long term. They have an application for platinum-resistant ovarian cancer. The FDA has already accepted it, and the PDUFA for that is July 11, 2026.
And the data there is from the Rosella trial.
Correct. And the results were, frankly, stunning for such a difficult-to-treat cancer.
What did they find?
When you add relacorilant to standard chemotherapy, you see a 30% reduction in the risk of the disease progressing.
Okay, that's PFS, progression-free survival.
Right. But even more importantly, they saw a 31% reduction in the risk of death. That's overall survival, the gold standard.
A 31% reduction in the risk of death that's a massive number.
It's transformative. And what's really key is that this benefit was seen across the board, even in patients who had already failed other advanced treatments like PRP inhibitors.
So how does it work? How does a stress hormone drug help fight cancer?
It's a really elegant mechanism. Cortisol, the stress hormone, basically creates a protective shield around the cancer cells. It tells them not to die, which is a process called apoptosis.
So it's blocking the chemotherapy from working.
Precisely. Relacorilant comes in, it breaks down that protective cortisol shield, and suddenly the tumor is resensitized to the chemotherapy. The chemo can finally do its job.
It's a shield buster. That's incredible. So what's the plan for the oncology side?
They see it as a billion-dollar-plus opportunity just in this first indication. They believe it will become the new standard of care, and they're already expanding into earlier stages of ovarian cancer and other cancers, like endometrial cancer.
So zooming out, we're not just looking at one drug for one disease. This is a whole platform built on cortisol modulation.
A powerhouse platform. They're looking at ALS, where another drug, Dazzlant, showed an 84% reduction in the risk of early death, even though it missed the primary endpoint.
Wow.
And another one, miricorilant, for a major liver disease called MASH, with results expected in late 2026. This mechanism has legs.
Okay, so we have a financially stable company on the verge of transforming from a one-product story into a multi-billion-dollar platform. But it all hinges on getting that green light on December 30th.
That is a core tension. It is a pure catalyst trade.
Which brings us to our "this is not financial advice" segment. Given everything we've talked about, the superior safety, the strong efficacy in GRACE, what's the actionable idea here?
The trade, and it is a high-stakes one, is to go long court heading into that PDUFA date.
And the rationale?
The rationale is that the market is overweighting the risks from that failed gradient trial. The bet is that the FDA will look at the totality of the evidence, especially the game-changing safety profile, and approve it. The unmet need is just too high to ignore.
So you're betting the CRL risk is lower than the market thinks. Where does that put your price target?
You have to target the high end of the analyst range. I'm looking at the $145 target from firms like H.C. Wainwright. That's over an 80% upside from here.
80%.
A successful approval would trigger an immediate re-rating of the stock. It validates the entire multi-billion-dollar platform and clears the path for the huge oncology opportunity coming in 2026.
That's definitely a trade for someone with a high risk tolerance.
Oh, okay.
So, to sum up, Corcept is on the brink of a massive expansion, but this one regulatory hurdle makes the next few months incredibly volatile.
That's it. Approval isn't just about the endocrinology market. It's a huge strategic validation for their entire scientific approach.
And as we close out, I'll leave you with the final provocative thought. Corcept's own projections of $3 to $5 billion might actually be too conservative.
How so?
There was a massive study called Catalyst. It found that 1 in every 4 patients with hard-to-control type 2 diabetes also has hypercortisolism.
1 in 4.
1 in 4. Now, if cortisol modulation with a drug like Relacorilant can help that population, a group that even powerful new drugs like GLP-1s struggle with, then the market isn't just rare diseases anymore.
You're talking about expanding into the heart of the metabolic disease crisis.
The potential becomes truly explosive. It just highlights the power of this entire platform.
The link between stress, hormones, and chronic disease is absolutely the next frontier in medicine.
It really is. We encourage you to explore the science of selective glucocorticoid receptor antagonism further. Thank you for joining the deep dive.